What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Season 1 is upon us. It has happened, guys. We are into Mythic Plus and raiding. I actually haven't jumped into the raid yet at all. I'm doing that with my guild later on the weekend. But I did do Mythic Plus, and we're going to talk about what we did last night. I did a bunch of dungeons last night. I tried a bunch of different builds, and I'm going to talk about that right here. So this video, the footage I'm going to talk about... Oh, my monitor's all messed up. There we go. The footage I'm going to show you is from a +9 that we did, Court of Stars, which is, again, one of the new dungeons in the pool. We've got the 4 new ones and then some of the 4 old ones, right? Temple, Shadow Moon, Halls, Court. We did Court last night. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me talk about the builds that I've experimented with so far for Shadow Priest. This build right here in particular, I'm not going to look at the class tree at all because I think this is going to change from dungeon to dungeon. So don't, look at the class tree and just think, oh, I have to copy this exactly. I'm not really sold on mind games, at all. I really don't like it, actually. But it does end up doing a decent amount of damage pretty much all the time. It's never, amazing, but you don't have a better DPS option in the bottom of the tree. So that's an issue. But forget about the class tree. Let's talk about the spec tree. This is the build that I ran with. This is the Deathspeaker build that I've talked about before with Deathspeaker and Pain and Gain. It has a lot of Shadow Word death damage. And let me see if I actually have my Halls, Algathar. I think it's back here, right? Yeah, that's okay. So this is the build that I ran in the dungeon footage that I'm going to show you, and I'll show you in a second. But it basically revolves around Mindbender and keeping Mindbender up for as long as you can with resets on Shadow Word Death, and proccing Mind Blast as much as possible as well, because you get inescapable torment damage. So every time you cast Mind Blast or Shadow Word Death, you cause your Mindbender to slash enemies for a bunch of damage. It ends up adding up to a colossal amount of damage if you do it correctly. And it also extends Mindbender, which of course gives you more insanity generation, because he's generating insanity every single time he attacks, and he's just doing lots of damage with his auto attacks. So this build is really, really good, in my opinion, for that. Now, the Pain and Death is actually pretty good, too. This ends up being about 4% of your damage, maybe 5%. And for one talent point, well, 2 talent points, I guess, into one thing, getting 4% more damage is actually not bad at all. So that's how the entire build works. You basically get your Mindbender out as much as possible, press Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death as much as possible, and watch the damage roll in. Now, I'm not running Mind Flay Insanity, which a lot of Mythic Plus builds are running right now, just to buff your single target damage, and I totally understand the reasoning for that. I think that it's a good choice to take Mind Flay Insanity. With this build in particular, you do want to focus on Deathspeaker. And here's how the build kind of works here. Let me just show you really quickly. You're also taking, of course, Yogg-Saron and Y'Shaarj. I've done videos about these before. I also think I took... In this particular dungeon, I was taking Mental Fortitude, but we experimented later in the night with taking Psychic Horror. So you could take Psychic Horror as a means of getting a stun off, and then you could press Idol of Y'Shaarj, right? So it ends up helping you. I don't know if this counts as a horror. Actually, I guess it says it terrifies the target in place. I actually need to go back and test this again, but I think I was hoping to get the 15% more damage buff, but it says just fear effects. The enemy has to be feared. So you might actually have to use Psychic Scream on the enemies. Again, I have to do more testing on this. The most important thing about Idol Y'Shaarj that I was taking advantage of was the first part that says you get 5 extra seconds if no state matches. So that means the enemy that you're summoning your Mindbender onto has to be below 80% health. It can't be enraged, it can't be stunned, and it can't be feared, okay? That's important. I guess the stun gives you the insanity. I totally forgot about that. So if you do end up using the stun, which is Psychic Horror, that gives you 5 insanity every second, which isn't terrible, actually. It's not terrible at all. But if you want the extra 5 seconds on Mindbender, which is the main thing I was going for, then you have to have the enemy below 80% of their max health, because then they won't be considered healthy anymore. Okay, so you do that. That will get you the correct state, and then you get 5 extra seconds on your Mindbender. Now, the other way is to use Psychic Scream, of course, to get that 15% Is it on my bar? I guess it's just here. So you're going to use Psychic Scream. That puts a fear out, and then you cast your Mindbender right away. So you would run up, and you would press Psychic Scream, and then you would cast your Mindbender. And then you can see now I'm doing 15% more damage. Okay? Both me and my Mindbender are doing 15% more damage. And that includes all damage. The auto attack damage from Mindbender, the inescapable torment damage from Mindbender, all my damage from Psychic Link, and everything. It's all there. Okay? So that's really good. So that's a 15% damage boost. That comes if you get your fear off. Now, otherwise you're just doing 5% more damage. All of the outcomes from Idol of Y'Sharj are actually okay. There's some really good ones though. The 5-second extension is really good, I think, and the 15% more damage is really good as well. Okay? Now, you can actually also devour and enrage, which is kind of interesting. So this week is actually raging in terms of the affixes. So you could actually just get rid of an enrage on an enemy, which might be kind of cool, but isn't like essential, I don't think. But it's just a neat idea. That's the other kind of flexibility with that. But that's the build, guys. Let me show you what it looks like in action. Somebody messaged me here. What is this? Oh, it's gone now. Okay. Let me show you what it looks like in action. So again, it's very simple. You're getting your dots out with Shadow Crash, right? Because we have Misery. Basically, always want to take Shadow Crash with Misery. You're going to get all your dots out, and then you're going to cleave all your damage with Psychic Link, which makes your Mind Blast and Mind Flay cleave, and Pain and Gain makes your Shadow or Death cleave. So all your single target spells are cleaving, and then every time your Mind Blast and Shadow or Death go off, your Mindbender is cleaving as well. Okay? That's how the build works. Let me show you really quickly here. So we're going to start with... sorry, one last thing. I'm going to summon my Mindbender here. I'm going to dump 2 charges of Mind Blast. Then I'm going to dump Void Eruption afterwards to get 2 charges of Mind Blast back so that I can dump them again and get additional procs on Inescapable Torment. Okay, that's an important sequence there. Okay, let's make sure we're on current. Okay, we are. Here we go. Ready? So we're going to go... we'll just go... Crash here. Here we go. Here we go. We got a proc on Mind Seer, so we're going to press it. We're going to do Mind Blast. Then we're going to go Void Eruption. We got a Deathspeaker proc. There we go. We're going to use a regular Mind Seer. There we go. We're going to keep going. You can see our Mindbender is still going. Now we got another proc on Mind Blast. Another Mind Blast to keep our Mindbender going. There, he's basically done now. And then you would just fill... I should have done Mind Games at some point, but this is why I hate Mind Games, actually. This is why I don't like Mind Games. You're going to refresh with Shadow Crash, and you're going to rinse and repeat. Now, you're outside of your window. You're just waiting for procs on Mind Seer, okay? That's what you're waiting for. And the rest of the time, you're just filling with your single target spells. I'm finally going to press Mind Flay. Remember, your Mind Flay will cleave AoE damage because of Psychic Link, so don't be afraid to press it. Okay, Shadow or Death is back. My Mindbender's back, so we're going to wait for that. Here we go. Mindbender again. Shadow or Death. There we go. Mind Blast to cleave. Shadow or Death got a reset. We're going to press it again. Into a Mind Seer. Okay, there we go. Our Shadow or Death got a proc again. Make sure to always press Shadow or Death if it procs. Another Mind Seer proc. We got a Shadow or Death proc again. This is honestly how this can feel. It doesn't always feel like this, but it can feel like this. And that's about the build right there, okay? We basically sustained 100k. You guys can see that. Okay? So, Mind Seer is going to be huge. Inescapable Torment is huge. Why is it huge? Because we're focusing so much on pressing Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death because of Deathspeaker procs, right? We got so many Deathspeaker procs. So look at the Pain and Gain damage. Pain and Death damage, sorry. That's just the cleave from Shadow Word Death. Then we had our Psychic Link cleave from our Mind Blasts, of course, down here. And again, Mind Blast isn't doing a buttload of damage on its own, but the Psychic Link damage is doing a lot of damage. And the Inescapable Torment damage is doing a lot, right? So remember, always remember that. It's not... Mind Blast is a bit more of a facilitator. It's facilitating the rest of your damage here, okay? That's how that build works. Shadow or Death down here, not doing tons of damage on its own, but the cleave is doing tons of damage because we're in AoE, right? You got to always keep that in mind, okay? Let's look at the footage really quickly here. This was a... +9 Court of Stars. I can't remember what this dungeon's called for some reason. Kind of trying to get my brain wrapped around it. So this is the build that I was running here. The damage is not going to be as good as, you know, when you're actually in, when I'm just sitting on training dummies for 30 seconds. So always keep that in mind. But this is how the build works. This is how it works. Now, the problem with this build, in my opinion, is actually that I've taken Void Eruption. I like Void Eruption a lot, but I do think that Dark Ascension is probably better for this build, and I'm going to experiment with it in the next video. Because if you don't know, Dark Ascension is the other cooldown you can take, where it says it increases your non-periodic damage by 25% for 20 seconds. So that includes Shadow Crash, Psychic Link damage. It includes Mindbender auto attacks. It includes Mindbender Inescapable Torment damage, which I just showed you was off the charts, really, really high. It includes Pain and Death damage. It includes Deathspeaker, where you get it. Shadow Word Death itself is an instant cast ability. So it includes all your shadowy apparitions. So there's a lot of non-periodic damage that you're doing, and you could use Dark Ascension on every pack, basically. You can pair it up with every single Mindbender and have a crazy combo. And I've tried it before in heroic dungeons, and it wasn't really that great necessarily because the mobs were dying too quickly. But in a Mythic Plus dungeon, I feel like it would be absolutely incredibly strong. So I'm going to experiment with that in the coming dungeons here. Let me just skip ahead a little bit. Remember to kill the guards here? Let me go back. There's a guard here. These Duskwatch sentries. If you guys haven't done this dungeon, I'm going to help you a little bit on this walkthrough, okay? Duskwatch sentry needs to die. He's going to try and alert his friends. You can see Sleep does a perfect Ring of Peace here. That sentry's trying to get back, and Sleep Ring of Peaces him, which is perfect. This is another reason why, actually, you could take your stun, your Psychic, not Psychic Scream, but I'm losing my brain today. Psychic Horror. The 4-second stun is really good for little mobs like that. This guy just did a crazy amount of damage to melee. You want to disable these pillars here. Right here, these things have to get disabled so that the guards don't get pulled anymore. And then we're going to, people respawn, and we're going to go ahead here. Lynx is going to walk ahead. You want to be very careful in this section of the dungeon. Don't pull any more than you need to, and focus down the sentries. You can see this sentry starts to get away. I think he gets Ring of Peace again by Sleep. Really nailing that. Really good to have a monk for that kind of stuff. So use all your CC to get that guy down. Going to kill these Mana Sabers. Okay. Then we're going to move ahead here to this pack. This is the next little section here. We were just getting one-tapped. Like, I don't know what happened. Lynx got hit by Quelling Strike, I think, or Charged Blast. I think he gets hit by Charged Blast here. So watch this. It was Quelling Strike, took 25% of his health away, and then he got decked by Charged Blast. So we were relearning this, and, you know, we all made big mistakes. You know, I think Jack and I kite this one out quite a bit, but we do end up dying, unfortunately. We kill one guy, but not both. So we all come back here. Not a problem. We're all learning. We're all learning here, guys. I haven't done Court of Stars in, like, years, so just the way it goes. Now, this next section, you have to disable after we kill this guard. Sorry for the delay on Twitch. The Twitch VODs take forever to click through. Well, after you kill this guy, there's the boss. Be very careful. Don't pull the boss. You need to go disable the towers here. And there's a bunch of mobs you need to kill as well. So we were just kind of discussing it. Lynx went and got the tower, and then we actually pulled more mobs. I think I pulled Lynx back here just to kill these two mobs. So you got to be careful what you're pulling here. It's all very, very tight quarters, okay? Lynx is going to go disable another pillar over here. Got to watch out for quaking. It's so annoying. And then we do end up pulling the boss. So I guess we didn't kill the trash. I thought we did. This boss is very interesting. So he does a lot of ground effects on this boss. Tons and tons of ground effects, okay? Now, one thing he does is called Arcane Lockdown. You need to be very careful there. He's going to slow your character by like 98% or something. You need to jump to break the slow. But right before Arcane Lockdown finishes casting, you need to start jumping in a direction. Don't jump up and down. Jump in a direction somewhere, because he is going to turn and target somebody with a ground effect beam that will kill you. Watch this. I jump straight up and down here. I jump. And I'm way too late at the jumping. He's already targeted me, and I get wrecked. That is my fault there. I need to jump in a direction. So I get picked up by Lynx, which is very good. There, the next time, let's go back a little bit here. Sorry about that. Is already the next one? There we go. He gets me up. Arcane Lockdown. Now, I'm jumping in a direction already. I'm already jumping. And then I jump again. I jump again. Look, that beam was going to hit me again. But thankfully, I was already moving. So just remember for Arcane Lockdown, you need to jump in a direction right before the cast goes off, and you'll be fine every time. Otherwise, you will get wrecked. You are going to literally die to that. So that's most of the boss fight is just these ground effects that you need to keep dodging. That's about it. Once he gets to about 25% health, he will die to the poison that is on the little counter behind him. You can see it over here, actually. We've already put. If you have an alchemist in the group, you can actually poison this thing. Here comes Arcane Lockdown. I'm gonna start jumping again. There we go. I'm gonna move and jump, and again, I am able to dodge it this time. So just remember, there's this poison thing over here, and if you get a alchemist to go interact with that potion, you can poison it, and it will kill the boss when he goes to get his buff. In a second here, he's gonna walk over and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get my buff," and then I can kill all of you, and then he ends up dying instead, like an absolute dummy. So here he goes. He's gonna go drink it, and he makes a grave mistake, and he dies. All right, we're gonna push forward here. This next section is quite dangerous. This is where all the imps are. It ends up being a very dangerous area. So, but that's okay. Watch Sleep's damage here. The monk. He absolutely blows these things up. It's amazing. I started out pretty strong here, and then he gets like a touch of death off. Look at that. Look at his damage. He touch of death like twice, I think, there. Absolutely destroyed that pack, which was fantastic because the imps are annoying as hell. There's some patrolling imps here. You can see them running over here. Be very careful. When you pull these, you have to be very focused on the imps when you're pulling them. So let me show you. We're going to kill this pack here. And then I'm silenced. Not cool. And then I think the imps come behind us, and Lynx goes and gets them. So there's another patrolling imp pack. Here we go. So here it is. They cast Firebolt, and they all cast it at the exact same time. So it will kill the tank if you're not careful. Like right there. See that? Lynx just got absolutely dumpstered. So you need to be crowd controlling them. You have to leg sweep them. You have to cap totem them with an enhancement shaman. You have to in-cap roar them as a druid. I'm going to fear them right here. You have to do that so that they don't all, because they all cast Fireball at the exact same time. Which means the tank will, whoever they're focusing is going to die. So unfortunately, Lynx got wrecked there, but that's an important strategy to remember. Excuse me, guys, for the imps there. Now you're going to pull all the generals. There's all these generals. Here's another impact. We get it right this time. We get roar. Then we get the stuns coming out. And then I fear at the very end here. There, just to make sure that they die. There we go. We actually dealt with the imps properly that time. Then you're gonna kind of circle around. You gotta kill these sort of big generals, the enforcers. There's an interesting strategy here that Lynx showed us here. So you're gonna stand around this corner right here. Make an L right here. Make an L. Okay. You're gonna fight the enforcer right here, and when he does his big ability, which is called Fell Detonation, you're gonna go over here and LOS Fell Detonation. Now be careful about quaking, of course. You want to LOS Fell Detonation because it does ridiculous amounts of damage. Okay. And we're just going to rinse and repeat that. So here he goes again. He's going to start casting Fell Detonation. We're going to get around the corner and not take any damage. And that's how you want to deal with this enforcer guy, okay? Just keep that in mind. Very important there. We took Fell Detonation right there, and it does a lot of dot damage. I'm going to die from it, actually. So I have to be very, very careful. So you just don't want to do that. Just don't take Fell Detonation damage. Here's another one of the mini bosses that you have to fight. All good. We get rid of them. We go to the other side, and then we get this last Watcher guy at the and then we end up killing the boss here, I think. Or did we get the Inquisitor next? We run all the way back around, and I think we start fighting the boss. I'll show you that in a minute. This is where you do need to pick up sort of the last bit of your percentage in the dungeon is right here, but you can also you can just skip a lot of it. So understand how much percentage you need. We end up messing up here. We needed more percentage than we actually got right here. So just remember that. Here comes the boss fight. This fight is like pure single target until the imps get spawned. Okay. This is Talaxi Flame Wreath. Be very careful here. This thing does a lot of damage. This fight will be all single target until she starts to summon the imps, which are coming right now. Infernal Eruption. So she puts this on the ground. You have to dodge the swirlies, and then where the swirlies are going off, they will summon imps. Those imps need to die immediately. They need to die right away, okay? So we're dodging the swirlies. Here comes the imps. Big AoE damage. Boom. They're all dead. I think Jack had like an implosion saved up. And then and then Dave did his dragon breath right over top of the fire that they left on the ground. Ends up killing himself. Watch this. This is so good. Watch this. He does this little flame thing. He's flying across and he just dies. Frank, that was so funny. That was so funny. Poor Dave. So that's the entire fight. Wait until the red swirlies come out, okay? And then you want to dodge them. Infernal Eruption. Dodge the swirlies. Kill the ads. Very, very important to blow those ads up, okay? Very, very good stuff there. And then you kill the boss. There you go. So now, here's the next section. You're going to put on your disguise, and you're going to go in and try and find clues as to which one of these guys in here is the imposter. If you've never done this mechanic before, I'm not going to do a full in-depth explanation of it, but basically it's a little mini game where you have to figure out which one of these nobles is actually like a dreadlord in disguise, okay? So you have to go pick up clues. This guy says right here, what does he say? I heard the spy brought along some potions just in case. So now we know that the spy has potions on the belt. So we were all telling each other the different clues. There's some that are like, he's not wearing gloves, or he has a cape, or it's a female, or it's a male. I was checking out this guy to see if he had a potion, but then I was asking everybody else, well, does he have gloves? And they were like, no, the bad guy doesn't have gloves. So then Lynx ended up finding the guy up above, which is good. And you're going to go fight him. He's a dreadlord up here doing dreadlord things. He spawns a little bat, which you need to CC, which is exactly like the mechanic from Season 4 in Shadowlands, if you remember that. So make sure to CC the bat. Okay, very easy kill here. Then we move on to the final boss. And remember, we are low on percentage. Now, the timer is getting pretty low here for us. And we need to be very careful that we don't mess this up. So this boss fight, he does a lot of like wind effects, like a bunch of wind on the ground and little streams of wind that you have to dodge. So they're very difficult to see, actually. I don't know if Blizzard's going to patch this, but they are very difficult to see. Just watch your feet when you're doing this fight. So he does Blade Surge where he'll just jump at somebody, okay? Nothing really crazy going on there. Then he does Piercing Gale. You can see the wind. There's little lines on the ground of wind. They're very difficult to see. There's one right there. It's very hard to see, though. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that they're very difficult to see. You need to be paying attention big time, or you're going to end up missing it and probably dying. There's Blade Surge again, and then he does a big AoE wind gust ability, Slicing Maelstrom. So everybody just takes damage here. You just have to pop your defensives to try and stay alive. That's all you can do here. And then he rinses and repeats. There's nothing going on crazy, okay? So that's that fight. Now, we're low on percentage, so we're like, shoot, we got to run back. So we run back. We have a minute 45 to get 9% of the dungeon. So Lynx pulls this group here. This is pretty cool, actually. Let me see if I can. No, I can't. Okay. Lynx pulls this group here, and then he's like, I need somebody who's ranged to go pull some more. We need some more percentage. So I'm like, okay, I'm going. I'm going to go pull some more for you. So I run over here. I throw a Shadow Crash while I'm going, and then I pull this guy. One really cool thing about Shadow Priest is that you have Fade. You can see Fade in the bottom right-hand corner here. I'm going to press this as soon as the mobs get close to me. I press Fade, and then they go away from me, and they go off to kill Lynx because he's holding threat. So it's really good, actually, for Shadow Priest to go pull, like, random mobs, and then you run them in right before they're about to attack you. You press Fade, and it will stop them from attacking you because it drops all threat that you have. So very, very cool ability there. Pretty important. We're doing some damage here. We're finishing them off. I thought these guys weren't worth enough percentage, but they were. We went from 94 here to 98 very quickly, and then boom, we get full percentage right there. So that's the end of the dungeon. Very cool. And then we go get our gear, and I end up getting a ring, I think. Yeah. I end up getting a ring here that has auto attack damage by 128. So I end up giving this ring to Sleep, actually, because I figured, I probably should. So that's that. That is that dungeon. Let me just jump out here. We're going to go back to the other gameplay again. So that's that there. And let me just go over the video, the build really, really quickly one more time. We'll get this up here. So this is a Deathspeaker build. What was my overall there? Let me just look at the video one more time. My overall ended up being about 23.1, but that's for a Court of Stars. It's kind of a bad overall dungeon, but we were basically tied with the monk and everything. So this is how the build works again, guys. You've got all your damage basically cleaves from Psychic Link. So your Mind Blast damage and your Mind Flay, which is your filler, are going to be cleaving, which is really, really good. You're going to be pressing Shadow Word Death as much as possible, and you're going to be getting Pain in Death, getting the cleave from Shadow Word Death, and you're going to be getting resets on Deathspeaker, and it all funnels into Mindbender damage with Inescapable Torment. That's the whole point of this build, is to get as much damage funneled into Mindbender as you can during your windows. Now, the one change I would make with this build is I would try it with Dark Ascension. I think that Dark Ascension could be a really good combo with Mindbender. They're both 1 minute cooldowns. I've tried them in other dungeons, but not in Mythic Plus yet, and I do think that it would be probably the better way to go, depending on kind of how you want to do this build. So I'm going to try that in the future dungeons. I'm going to be doing that tonight on stream. If you guys want to check it out, twitch.tv/ZukoVibes. Come check it out, and we'll be doing some more Shadow Priest stuff. But that's it, guys. That's it for the video. That was my +9 Court of Stars. We're going to keep pushing into dungeons in Dragonflight. I'm having an absolute blast. Let me know, you guys, in the comments down below. What do you think about Shadow Priest so far? What do you think about Dragonflight? Are you having a blast with this expansion? Have you done a bunch of Mythic Plus so far? Let me know in the comments down below. I love you all so much. We'll see you in the next one.